Today we are kit building our very own ukulele. Now we're going to try and model it on Hokusai's Great Wave. I'm no artist, but let's get into it and see what happens. This is a short and hopefully fun video series looking at a birthday present that was given to me last year by my good friend Matthew, who is a big fan of the channel and always tries to support the channel in different ways. So big thank you to Matthew, and he's given us this kit ukulele, and we're going to have a go at making it today and seeing how it all fits together, and we're going to have a look at creating a bit of artwork on it as well. I've always had my eye on Luna do a very nice ukulele with Hokusai's Great Wave. Hokusai is a woodblock printing artist from Japan from the 1800s, and he's one of the most stunning woodblock artists in history. And his Great Wave, look it up if you are not familiar with it. It's a beautiful, beautiful, stunning picture of a giant wave with Mount Fuji in the background. So really embodies all the sort of natural wonder and beauty of Japan, and we're going to try and replicate that just like Luna have done with their ukulele. We're going to try and replicate that on the body and the neck of my kit ukulele. So hopefully it will cover the whole thing in a nice big wave, and we'll see how that comes together. So I'm going to chart this over the next few videos and just show you step by step, bit of a Wednesday feature for the next few weeks. Just have some fun with this. Now I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure how amazing this is going to sound when it comes together. Matthew's going to be heavily offended, I know, when I say that. I'm not sure that this is the highest quality of production. I mean, the two pieces there, the main pieces, don't really fit together that smoothly, and the fingerboard is made out of plastic, so I'm not anticipating the highest quality of music when it's all put together, but it certainly should be a fun artistic project, and I'm anticipating getting into a lot of fun and mess with all the acrylics. So I've not got my waistcoat on today, but we're going to get the acrylics out in a minute, and we're going to have a go at creating Hokusai's Great Wave on my kit ukulele. So over the next few weeks, we're going to be putting this together and showing you step by step how we create our kit ukulele. And some of you might like to go out there and buy your own kit ukulele and see what you can come up with, and what designs you can create. And hopefully, although I'm sure it won't sound that amazing, hopefully we'll get a tune out of it and we'll be able to do a song, and I'll aim to record a song with it at the end of the series. So I hope you enjoy watching this over the next few weeks. Thanks for watching. Today we are kit building our very own ukulele. Now we're going to try and model it on Hokusai's Great Wave. I'm no artist, but let's get into it and see what happens. Okay, first of all, we are going to do an unboxing, and here is the package. As you can see, there's no label on it, and there's no instructions with it at all, so it's a bit of a mystery ukulele kit build, this one. Not entirely sure where Matthew got it from, but that's part of the fun, the mystery ukulele kit build. Here we go, so let's see what we've got inside. So straight away, we've got the ukulele body, and we can see that sounds solid enough. Obviously it's made up of a laminate, I think. It's just a nice cheap plywood there, but it's solid and it's intact, and it's all the right shapes, so I think that'll do the job. Like I said, I'm seeing this more as an artistic project really than a massive musical project, but hopefully we can get a song out of it at the end. I think it will do the job nicely. So there's our body. The next piece is the neck, and we can see that's nice and smoothly crafted, and the two will fit together. I think there's a piece of dowel inside, obviously, that will slot those two into those two holes and hold it all together with a bit of super glue, although there isn't any glue in there, so I'll grab some super glue later on, and it will obviously look a bit like that. I have to say it's not the flushest of joins. That's very flat and that's quite curved, so that's not particularly brilliantly done, but it will do the job, and I'm sure that will hold together and will be covered with plenty of acrylic paint later on. So there's the body and the neck, and then we've got the fingerboard, which will go on top, and that's just a really cheap plastic, but it will do the job, and obviously the whole thing will come together and look like that in the end. So that's what we're working towards. And then we've got some other pieces. We do have a helpful screwdriver. Can't go far without a screwdriver. It's about the only tool they've given me, because the rest of it I think I'm going to have to get from my own stores. And then we've got all the bits and bobs in here. Let's have a look at what's in this bag. So we have got the bridge and the saddle there. They'll go together with the strings on top. And then we've got the nuts there as well that will go at the top of the neck. There are the said strings. They're not colour marked, so I'll just have to try and figure out which one's which. They quite possibly are all the same. We've got the 4 tuning pegs. We have got 4, so that's all okay. There's 4 bits to go with there. And we've got all the screws. Hopefully we've got enough screws. And there's the important dowel piece that will hold the neck and the body together. So I think we're good to go. So hopefully this is going to be an interesting project, and we'll see over the next few episodes what it looks like when it's done. Okay, thank you for watching. Today we are kit building our very own ukulele. Now we're going to try and model it on Hokusai's Great Wave. I'm no artist, but let's get into it and see what happens. Okay, here we go then. So we're going to have a go at painting the whole thing now in a light blue wash. So we're going to try and give it all a nice light blue background. Also, not quite sure how the wood will take to the how the paint will take to the wood. So I'm going to do a sort of back layer to sort of coat the whole thing and seal the wood, and then we can always add a second coat if we need to. So we're going to sort of do a prime coat initially. So I've got some blue acrylic. It is trusty Blue Lake. There we go. Blue Lake acrylic. Is that in focus? However, that's a bit darker than I want, so I'm going to be adding some dark shades later on. So I've got some white as well. I'm going to try and mix our own shade. Wish me luck. I haven't done acrylics for quite a long time. Probably need quite a lot because there's a lot of wood. So let's see how we get on. I've got the white my wet tray here. So I do know a little bit about painting. Literally a little bit. So let's see if we can mix this up, make it a bit lighter. There we go, nice pale blue. That's good. That's looking good already. And I've already got some white wisps in there, so I'll be adding some white later on, I think, as well for the tops of the waves, and some dark blue. But the plan is to coat the whole thing initially in a nice light layer of blue. So now I'm just going to jump straight into this. I'm no artist, so here we go. And the plan is to coat the whole thing in blue. Now Matthew, interestingly, Matthew really is an artist. He actually did an art degree in fine arts, and then another one in costume. So he's a multi-talented master of arts, really. So he will probably, he's already been offended because I basically said this is a bit cheap. And now he's going to be horrified. So I'm not entirely sure whether he's going to enjoy these videos or not, but I hope you find something interesting in them. I'm sure he'll just be really laughing at my expense all the way through these, because he really would know how to do an excellent job on this. In fact, he'd probably, because he's a bit of an ace woodworker as well, he'd probably create the whole thing himself. In fact, maybe, oh dear, maybe, I hope he hasn't, because he really would be offended if he had crafted it for me. But I think this does look like it's been bought probably online, knowing him, which is great. I'm just hoping he hasn't crafted it himself, otherwise he will never forgive me. That would explain the lack of labelling though. But I don't think he'd be able to manufacture his own plastic neck board. I don't think plastic tooling is his forte. So I'm going to carry on the basis that I've not offended my best friend for life, and that instead he's just finding all this very amusing as I paint the top. And I haven't really thought about how I'm going to paint the back. I think acrylics dry quite quickly, so I'm just going to do the top and sides, and then I'll flip it over later on. This is actually going very nicely so far. Nice shade of blue, which of course matches Mr. B's Ukulele Channel's logo very nicely. So it's a good starting point for us. I could just leave it at blue, couldn't I? Actually, I quite like that shade of blue. That works really nicely. I think that's coming on very nicely so far. Could just leave it there. Of course, have you spotted the new ukulele mug available on Mr. B's Ukulele Channel? There's featured the blue ukulele on there as well. I've just got to be very careful. There's 2 holes there. I've already covered them up. I'm going to find them later with a bradawl. I'm just going to re-sync those later. I've got to be very careful as I add the paint to keep finding those holes, because otherwise if I just cover them up I won't be able to see what I'm doing when I come to putting the bridge on later on, and that will be a little bit of a problem. So this is going fine. I'm going to need to get some more paint out in a minute, but actually this is taking very nicely to the wood. I was thinking I'd do the neck at the same time, but actually I can see already that would be inadvisable, because the neck would actually allow me. I'm just going to go around the inside of the sound hole. Although what I'm doing there is actually just making a big mess around the sound hole. So you know how most ukuleles have those lovely neat beadings of different materials around the sound hole? Mine's just going to have a sort of gloop of excess paint that I added at the last minute. Yeah, it's not brilliant. Did I mention this is the first time I've done one of these? Well, I think it's probably about time I did. But there we go. That's all painted one way or another. Like I said, it's only the base paint, the base layer. I'm going to be adding lots of layers of blue later on. We've now got a nice blue body all the way around the back, the top and the sides. I've not done the back, which will allow me to look at that. It's as if I planned that. That is as if that was intentional. I'm actually quite pleased with that. Paintbrush in the water. We're ready to have a cup of tea with my new mug. Look at my new Mr. B's new ukulele mug. Check that out. For those who want to waste money on something they don't need. Right, okay, so we're good to go for part one. See you next time to see what happens next. Well, I'm going to paint the next bit blue, but see you next time anyway. Take care. Thank you. Today we are kit building our very own ukulele. Now we're going to try and model it on Hokusai's Great Wave. I'm no artist, but let's get into it and see what happens. So here we are, and the body has just about dried. Now it's feeling just ever so slightly tacky in a couple of places. I'm just holding it really carefully. There's a few bits that are a bit shiny and wet still, so I'm just conscious of the fact, I've got a bit of blue on my finger already. Just conscious of the fact that it's not 100% dry, but I think it's dry enough, bearing in mind this is only a base coat, and there will be other coats over the top of most of that. I'm just going to prop that against that box there, so I can paint the back, and I'm going to have a go at painting the neck. And these got pretty big holes ready for the tuning keys later on, so I'm not worried about covering those up. I do need to remember to get the bradawl and put those holes in the ukulele. In fact, I'm going to go and do that now, because it's important we don't lose sight of those holes which will be needed for the bridge. So I'm just going to go and grab the bradawl. So here is our family bradawl. Every good family should have one. Every good oh dear, I've put my finger in. Oh dear, that was quite wet still. Okay, you see, you can just about see the two holes there and there, but they're already caked over in paint, and if I'm not careful I'm going to lose sight of those, and I think it's worth just keeping those. So if you just press down lightly with the bradawl, make sure they're nice and clear, because they are going to get caked over with paint again later. And try not to get any more paint on my fingers. Oh, it's a bit of a smudge at the side now. Never mind, big smudge on my thumb as well. There we go. So not entirely dry, but might as well wipe that on there. Why not? Here we go then. Mr. B's art class, lesson 2. Here we go. It's like Tony Hart, but without the talent, isn't it? That's called twizzle. That's where you twizzle it. That's a absolutely top grade art technique. Probably isn't. All artists are probably looking at me thinking, "What on earth are you doing? You're ruining your paintbrush and making a mess of the grain of the paint." Right. Okay. The next technique I'm going to employ is the well-known getting paint all over your fingers technique, as I try and paint over the bit that I'm holding. Now I'm quite sure Matthew would tell me at this point you stop, let it dry, and then go back to it. How much time does he think I have on this? I've got other things to be doing as well, so I'm not going to do that. We're just going to splash some paint on, get a bit painted up, and then we'll leave it to dry. There we go. I'm literally just painting my fingers now. In fact, I think what I need to do is probably hold it somewhere else. Or I could hold it around the holes. It's probably not very satisfactory. But arguably they're going to be covered. Right, that's a coat of paint over the whole thing, so I just need to be mindful of where I'm pressing now, so that I'm not getting... I'm just going to put that there, and I can go over it slightly later when it's dry, and just go over any bits that have come off in my hand. So there we go, we've got the body and the neck, and we're looking ready, I think, to add some more shades of blue to actually start getting this wave effect in the next video. Okay, thanks for watching. Today we are kit building our very own ukulele. Now we're going to try and model it on Hokusai's Great Wave. I'm no artist, but let's get into it and see what happens. Right, okay. Hello and welcome back. You've just caught me there using my daughter's hairdryer. No one mention it to her, please. I'm sure she won't notice. So we're pretty much dry on the body. The neck is still taking a little bit of time to dry. I didn't think you'd thank me for filming every extra coat I've put on and every extra dab of paint I've had to add from where I've smudged it with my fingers. But we have eventually got a dry body and very much a nearly dry neck. Okay, so what we are going to try and do today is we are going to try and add a dark blue layer to parts of the body. And we're going to cover not the whole face, we're going to be covering a large part of the face with the sort of main body of the wave, which will be done in dark blue. And then we're going to do a lip around the edge all the way around the body in the same dark blue, so it should match nicely. And then we'll have a light blue bottom and rear of the ukulele and back to the back of it there as well. So the back of the body will be light blue and the front will be dark blue with bits of light blue still showing as well. So what we're going to try and do now is get some masking tape, and we're going to go around the bottom half of the body in masking tape, try and get a really straight line so that we can then paint down onto that and get a really nice neat line. So I've got two nice blues all the way around the side of the body. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to grab the masking tape and try and get started with that. Now what I could do, I think if I use the width of the masking tape as a reference from the edge of from the back. So there we go. We need to put it down straight there for that to work. I'm going to try and follow the edge of the ukulele with the masking tape. And can you see how I've basically put the masking tape at the bottom? So the dark blue will come down to the top and it'll just be slightly over half, and then we'll have this lovely strip of light blue with the light blue back as well. So that is the plan there. And if I stop talking for a moment, I can do that wonderful thing where we can speed it up. So I'm going to go quiet, just do this really quietly, and then we can speed it up with some mute. Play, what do you say? Cue music. There we go, here we go. Cue the music. So there we have it, and as you can see, I've managed to cover the whole of the bottom part of the side all the way around with masking tape. So I've got a lovely straight line of masking tape, hopefully more or less straight, and I'm now going to paint the top part of that side in dark blue, and I'm just going to slightly overlap onto the top. And I think what I'm going to do is start off by drawing out very carefully the shape of the wave that I want to follow. I'm going to get a pencil and just do that really carefully, drawing out the shape of the wave that I want to then follow with the blue paint, and I will then stay within that line and then go over the edge. In fact, I might have to think about whether I want it dark blue all the way around. I might leave a little bit of light blue here, just so there's a little bit of contrast there, a little bit of shape to it rather. I will get the pencil and I will investigate that and see what happens. Bear with me 1 second. So, I want the wave to follow the shape of the sound hole. So I'm going to start at the sound hole. Now I'll probably add, let me see. Now I want it to come right over the sound hole. So we're going to, I think, curve out like this. got to be careful here because I don't want to have to redo the pale blue. I really want to keep that as it is, but it's going to curve round more or less like that. I mean, you can see that I've basically drawn a line there, and then it's going to follow the outside of the body, and then it will come I think like that. And then I'm considering having Mount Fuji in the background. I'll draw Mount Fuji in later. I think we'll have a bit more of a pickup there. That'll be gone over in dark blue. Yeah, so, okay, quite a pickup there. So you can see that the line that I've drawn, I hope, and yeah, it's not brilliant, but hopefully it will give me a basic outline for my dark blue wave. So then technically blue wants to finish down the neck here. If I carry it over, curve it into that could be interesting. If I do the same here, sort of taper it off. So actually all of that will stay pale blue on the top, and the dark blue edge will go around the bottom. I think we need to get some paint on this and have a look at it so you can actually see what I'm doing, because I'm not quite sure how well this is going to come out. And you can see how that masking tape is now coming into play. And again on the other side here, I'm going to follow the line of the wave off the front. And over the side. I'm happy with that. Just finish off the front now. Make sure I get the inside of the sound hole, which is inside the wave. That wants to be obviously the dark blue, and not still showing the pale blue. And again, I'm going to go quiet so I can speed up the video later. Okay, there we go. There's the finished template for the wave, and as I say, I'll be adding lots more shades and colours to that once that is dry as well. And I'm also going to colour part of the neck in the same dark blue. I'm thinking I'm going to do the head So the front of the neck under the fingerboard as well, but then onto the head. So there'll be a bit of dark blue on the head, but then the back and sides will match the light back and sides of the back of the ukulele. So hopefully that'll be a really nice sort of two-tone blue effect over most of the body, with a lot more detail going onto the wave before we're done. So I'm just going to leave that there to dry. Okay, join us next time and we'll see what happens next. Thanks for watching. Today we are kit building our very own ukulele. Now we're going to try and model it on Hokusai's Great Wave. I'm no artist, but let's get into it and see what happens. Hello there. What we've got so far is our body painted with the outline of the wave, and I'll be adding a lot more detail to that later on once that is dry. And what we're going to try and do now is decorate the neck and the head in dark blue as well, and I want to maintain that contrast between the light and the dark, so I've sort of got two parts of colour on the neck there. We're not going to be adding a lot of detail to the neck, so I just want to keep this lovely pale blue that I've managed to create and just add a little bit of dark blue as well. Now I'm conscious of the fact that the fingerboard will stick on about there, so what I think I'm going to do, I like the idea of all of the back staying the pale blue, maintaining the pale blue. What I think I'm going to do is paint the top of the front of the head there in dark blue, and I'm just going to mask all the way around the edge there so that that stays nice and pale blue. So I'm going to mask around the edge, mask round the neck, and then just have that front face of the head in dark blue, and I think that'll just complement really nicely the dark blue of the wave. So let's get busy with the masking tape and do that, and I'm going to go quiet and cue the music. So we are nearly there. We're just putting the last piece of masking tape on now, and that takes us nicely to the finish. Whoops, very nearly there. There we go. It's a little bit messy on the back, but it doesn't matter because I'm not going to be painting the back. It's just so that I can paint the front there, knowing that all the sides are covered and they will stay pale blue. I might have to top it up. I can guess a couple of bits might get pulled off of the paint when I pull the masking tape off, but I can always top it up later. But for now, we've got a nice surface ready to paint the dark blue. So I'm just going to add a little bit more blue to my wet tray because that got used up on the body earlier. There we go, nice dollop. Shouldn't be too much needed actually. I must remember we mixed in a bit of white, didn't we? So get a bit of white on there. Try and get the same colour as we did with the wave. I think we're about there. And splash that. Oh, I think a bit more dark. I think a bit darker. There we go. Just very carefully over the neck, down to the neck rather, and over the front face of the head. You can see how easily that's gone on. Get it on nice and thick. Ooh. Hope the masking tape's doing the job there. I have a feeling a bit of dark blue might have snuck under the masking tape on the curve there. Not much I can do about that now. Like I say, if necessary, I'll just have to try and go over that neatly with the light blue later. We'll see if that works. So there we go, there's the neck all done, ready to go with my, you can't see that, let me see if I can just carefully show you. That's what it will look like. I think it's beginning to take shape quite nicely. See you next time, thank you. Today we are kit building our very own ukulele. Now we're going to try and model it on Hokusai's Great Wave. I'm no artist, but let's get into it and see what happens. Right, here we are, and we've got our body and our neck painted in two-tone blue. So we've got this lovely pale blue that I did as a wash over the whole body and neck initially, and then we've added this dark blue wave shape, which is the basic shape that's going to be our big wave on our ukulele body. And you can see how I've used masking tape. So I've gone around the side, but I'm going to have this lovely, hopefully lovely line of pale blue all the way around on the side and bottom of the body, so that it'll be a nice sort of stripe effect on the bottom, and then that'll lead on to a pale plain blue back. So hopefully that's going to look nice. What we're going to add today, or right now, is a bit of turquoisey green. That's what we're going to go for, to add a touch of green to the wave. We're going to try and make a sort of nice greeny turquoise shade. And we're going to go around the edge here of the body, all the way just around the edge from that point there, all the way around to this point here. We're not going to go around the top of it. I'm just going to go around the bottom up to the 2 points where I go down the side. I'm just going to add a small green edge to it, which I think might look nice. And I'm going to put some more masking tape around here so I can control which part of it I am painting, and we're not going to make a mess here. We'll have a nice stripe on the bottom there as well. So the bottom will actually be a nice sort of 3-stripe effect. Hopefully that will look really nice. And then we'll add some green splashes as well, turquoise splashes into the wave as well, and we'll do a little green sort of flick of a wave, I think, on there as well. And then I'll probably be adding a bit of maybe black or white to the edge of that later on. I'm going to be using a really thin paintbrush probably from now on, much thinner, because I'm not going to be applying mass amounts of colour. I'm just going to be really carefully placing some colour now to try and get this effect of the wave. I've got my colours. I've got my cobalt blue that we use, that's the dark blue we used yesterday, and some white, so we should be able to mix the turquoise from that, and also using this phthalo green, PHTH. How do you pronounce that? Phthalo. It's like double fit. No, I don't know. Phthalo green. I can't read that. I'm not. It's green. That's good enough for me. It's green. So we're going to mix that together. Got all we need to make a nice turquoise there. And yep, don't forget we are modelling this rather crudely, unfortunately, on the great Japanese woodblock artist Hokusai and his really famous woodblock print called the Wave, the Great Wave, I think it's called. Sorry, the Great Wave, and it's a beautiful, beautiful piece of artwork. So do look that up if you've not come across it. The 19th century Japanese artist, very, very famous in Japan and around the world. His woodblock prints are just beautiful pieces of work. Woodblock printing itself is an amazing artistic style, so do look it up if you've not come across it before. It really is a stunning and effective way of creating artwork. Very, very clever the way it's done as well. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about woodblock printing. We're going to get into this. So I'm going to be putting another layer of masking tape on now, and then we're going to be playing it green, painting it green. So I'm going to go quiet, we'll cue some music, and we'll put some masking tape on. So there we are. We've got our band of extra masking tape there, and it literally adds about 3mm all the way around to the masking tape I've already got, which means that, like I said, we'll have this thin line of dark blue right around the middle, and then I'm going to have this nice thick line of turquoise green here around the bottom, and I'm going to just carefully go over the top, hopefully just a couple of millimeter all the way around, and that is just one I'm going to do freehand. So that what will happen there is I'll start off really thin and delicate, go wrong, and then it will get bigger and bigger as I keep going wrong, and I have to then cover it up. So I can tell you now, I'm going to start off doing a really thin line, and it will end up bigger than I originally intend. But let's see how that goes. So let's just get ourselves ready. We've got a paintbrush. I do need to mix the colour now. So we've got some white and blue left from yesterday, but I'm going to need a bit more than that. So I'm just going to prepare my colours. Pretend I know what I'm doing, so just a dollop of the blue. I've got quite a bit of white in the tray, and I don't want it to be too white, so I do want quite a heavy dark green, really, sort of dark greeny turquoise. Right, so first efforts at creating turquoise there haven't gone very well, because what I've done is I've mixed in all that green in the big dollop of blue I got from yesterday. And straight away it's just gone into a funny shade of blue. So I think the answer there is more green. I hope the answer is more green, because otherwise I'm not quite sure what the answer is. Right, we're in luck, having had mixed results so far with the phthalo green. I mean, these names are ridiculous. Phthalo green is an interesting one, but I've now found a light green. I mean, how is that light green? Why are the names so ridiculously different? So I probably should have started with this one, frankly. I'm just going to put a good dollop of that in, because I'm not convinced about phthalo green. That was a mistake, I think. Not the first or the last that we will... Oh, there we go. Now that's the turquoisey green that I wanted. There we go. So that's a really nice gooey mess of acrylics. Excellent. Right, okay, make sure I've got no paint on my hand there. So I think we'll start off on here. Let's see how that looks. Oh, that's very green. That's actually green. And I don't want green, I want turquoise. So that's really not going very well. And try mixing in a bit more blue, and I know this is just going to ruin it. So that's turned into a green. Oh dear. Yeah, that's not what I want either. That's actually really green. There we go. Now we have a sort of turquoisey green. I bet it's an absolute joy to watch me do this. You know, really watching a artistic master at work, really knows how to mix his colours, really knows what he's doing. That's actually still quite a mud. It's just turning into mud now, because I've mixed so many colours in there. But that is more or less the turquoisey green that I was originally... That is, to be honest with you, that is exactly what I was going for. That is just right. No, it's not. Need a bit more blue in there. Bit more white. Oh dear. Getting a really mucky paintbrush. I think disaster would be a strong word to use, but we're probably not. Probably wouldn't be that inaccurate. Yeah. Curious. Yeah. You see, if I actually had any budget for my channel, I could have employed an artist to do this. But, you know, I don't. So, we're making do. And it's alright. Maybe. That's what we've got so far. We've got this quite striking turquoise green, sort of. Right, now then, this is the bit where I need to be actually careful and try and do a neat job. And I've got a really messy paintbrush now, so... So I had a moment there halfway around where I realised, it was a bit of a eureka moment, I realised that it doesn't have to be exactly the same width all the way around, as long as it's a smooth line. So we've got this nice smooth line going around, you can just see that there. The problem is, it's not gone on completely thickly, because I was trying to do it smoothly in quite long brush strokes, so it's actually gone on quite thin. It's actually not gone on, it's not covered the blue entirely, so that means I'm going to have to go over it again with another layer. So I'll just give that a second to dry, and then I'm going to go over that again, which does mean there's a big chance of me going wrong. But as a first attempt, I'm actually really happy with that. Let's show the evidence now after attempt 1. That's actually, I think, looking really nice. So I think that's quite effective. So we're going to try that again with a second layer. So I think that's actually gone on really well, and that second layer has just added a nice thickness to most of that. I didn't manage to cover the whole first layer with the second layer, but the joy is the two together should just about cover all the blue underneath. I think that's actually looking really quite smart. So that really is green more than turquoise, isn't it? It's fine. I'm happy with that. You get a lot of green in water. If you look carefully, it's definitely a lot of green in water. Right, okay, so I'm going to leave that to dry. And look, that's actually dry already, so I can leave that perfectly like that to dry. And before we go, I'm going to just attempt to use the same colour and do a sort of flick up the side. Well, we'll see. Basically, I'm going to add some green or turquoise to this bit as well. I'm not going to commit to the shape I'm going to go for here, because we'll very much see what happens as we do it, I think. I've got in mind, I'm trying to think where the masking tape is. Right, the masking tape is there. So we're going to try and go from the corner of the masking tape. You see what I'm doing? I'm going to just flick up. Whoosh, there we go. Absolutely. Oh, exactly perfect. Just like that. And then we're going to try and come so it just sort of fades to the corner. There we go. Yep, nearly. Yeah, that'll do. I think that'll do it. Just put it on nice and thick. Don't particularly want to have to do another coat of this later on. And there we go. So that's the neck as well now, coming together in 3 different shades there as well. I'll leave that there to dry. Okay, hope you enjoyed that adventure in art, everybody. Today's video. Thanks for watching. Today we are kit building our very own ukulele. Now we're going to try and model it on Hokusai's Great Wave. I'm no artist, but let's get into it and see what happens. Okay, here we are, and we've got a dried greeny turquoise on the bottom and the lid of the ukulele now on the top there, and all around the bottom. So you can see it's not looking too bad. I mean, it's looking very basic, let's be perfectly fair, but I'm quite pleased with this. And what I didn't show you in the last video, because I forgot to do it until I switched the camera off, is I've done a couple of turquoisey green, or 3 splashes on the wave there. I think you can just see that in the camera. And to be honest with you, they're a bit clumsy. I'm not entirely happy with them, but the idea is to add other colours to that, and that's actually what I'm going to do now. So the plan now is to add a little bit of silver on the back of each of these strokes, and a little bit of really light blue on the front. So we're going to end up with a nice multicoloured sort of dashes to the wave. That's the plan. And then the plan later on, once all that's dry, is to go over it with a sort of spotty white effect, sort of like the froth of the wave. I'm going to add a tiny little bit of light blue to that as well, which I'm going to do in just a second. So these are the colours we've got. We've got, it just says silver. It's funny how some of these paints are just really normal colour names, and then some of them are so complicated you don't know what they are. Blue Lake, that's the vibrant blue. That's actually the blue that I mixed in with white to get the pale blue background, and I'm just going to use this on its own now, because you can see it's a really striking shade of blue. So we're going to use that as a little bit of extra blue on top of the wave. So I've still got my wet tray. We've got quite a horrendous mix in here now. I'm going to try and utilise the bit at the front which is not so messy. So we'll start with the blue, because I want to start with the neck, and I'll show you what I'm going to do there in a moment. I'm just going to pop a bit of that. I don't need a lot. Just put a dollop in there. I think you can see the wet tray in the camera, can't you? So what I'm actually going to do is, this has got this obviously dark blue background on the head, and then this green wave. What I want to do is just put a tiny little band of blue at the bottom of the neck. So the fingerboard is going to come there. And what I thought I would do is just have a thin strip of light blue at the top of the fingerboard, just as a extra little colour. I think that would look really nice. It's about tying all the colours together, and I want the colours on the neck to match the colours on the body of the instrument, so then it just becomes a nice whole piece of art, doesn't it? I like the way I'm talking as if I actually know what I'm talking about now, as if I have any idea what I'm doing with art. So before I get my paintbrush out, I need to do a bit more mask. Actually, to be honest with you, I'm just enjoying using the masking tape. What I love about using the masking tape is it allows me to be really uncareful with the painting. So I'm just going to put a really thin strip, I think about there. Make sure that's straight. Yep, as simple as that. And that's literally leaving a 2mm gap there over the edge, on the edge of the top of the neck there. And that's just going to be a dash of blue. Just making sure that's in the right place. Yep, that's going to be a dash of blue. And I've gone for an extra fine paintbrush. So really fine paintbrush tips. I'm going to be trying to do some really delicate splashes of colour, but I'm going to put this on quite strongly. Yeah, that's definitely got masking tape underneath as well. I'm worried about putting it in the wrong place. In fact, I've watered that down. Instantly I've watered that down too much, so that's just going to try and lose the water on that, and then we can put it in a bit more strongly. There we go. Oh, that's got far too much water on it. That's not good. Tell you what I'm going to do. Whoops! I'll tell you what, I'm going to make a right mess. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to grab a tissue, and I'm going to blot that off. And I'm going to do that again. I could edit it so that you don't even know that happened, but I probably won't, because there's no pretense about this. I'm not pretending to be good at art. But I'm hoping that the overall effect is going to be nice. I'm hoping to actually show that even without any artistic talent, it's still possible to do a bit of an effective ukulele design. Just have to be willing to have a go and mix the colours together and see what happens. So you can see there I've got a nice band of blue. That looks a real mess on the camera, I know, but there's obviously masking tape above and below that. So when that peels off, it'll be about a 2mm band of blue at the top of the neck. And I'm hoping that will be really effective. I might be wrong. We'll find out. So obviously the two pieces together are so far matching quite nicely. And you can see how the colours are going to try and tie together. So we're going to try and add that light blue now to the waves. Now I'm going to do it on the front of the greeny turquoise strokes that I've done. And I'm really nervous about doing this because I'm sort of committing. Right, okay, actually, really worried this is going to go very wrong. Very quickly. Right, dash. Oh dear. Okay. Yeah, I'm not entirely convinced by that. Do one down here. But my plan is to go over the whole thing with a sort of white polka dot effect. So the purpose of that being deliberately to disguise my awful brush strokes. Oh no, that's not good. Yeah, that's gone on way too heavily. Yeah. I need to try and break up this really big green blob effect that I've managed to get before. Yeah, this is not looking pretty. Let's try one at the top. Whoops, I actually missed where I was aiming for there. Well, that's about as good as it's going to get. Don't worry, the final effect will be better. Maybe. Lots of white covering it later. That's the plan. Right, okay, so that's half of what we're doing. And then the other bit, so you can see that's a real disaster so far, I know. Look, don't judge me yet. Judge me at the end when I've got a finished thing. Because, you know, art's all about making mistakes and then redoing things, isn't it? It's the joy of art. You sort of have a blank canvas, you sort of create your thing, you change it, come back to it. So we're going to add, there's a good dollop of silver there. I think this silver is going to go on really liberally. That's quite a strong colour, so I need to make sure there's no blue on my brush, and also there's no water in there, because that's going to be, let's get that on the tissue. Oh, that's good. I hardly dare again, so I'm going to go and try and do the sort of other edge now, the back of it, in a sort of silver like this. Well, it could be worse. Could be better, but it could be worse. I mean, in fairness, it couldn't be a lot worse. Really couldn't. Oh my gosh. You're all going to be judging me, I know. I don't mind. So that's what we've got. Not entirely convinced by this. Ideas in the comments now as to what you would do to fix that. Don't say start again. Right, so I've got these rather thick lines in the waves. So I think I need some sort of effect over it, almost like not a glitter effect, but in sort of lots of bubbly white surf. But I'm not quite sure how I'm going to apply that. Might have to do a test on something. Or I could practice it on the neck board, where the fingerboard's going to cover it on the neck. I might do a bit of practice later. So, there we go. There's our ukulele so far. It's not looking awful. And hopefully, by the end, it will be looking okay. We are going to varnish it as well. The hope being that the varnish will somehow miraculously transform it into something amazing. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. Today we are kit building our very own ukulele. Now we're going to try and model it on Hokusai's Great Wave. I'm no artist, but let's get into it and see what happens. Okay, here we are, and we're about to apply the white bubbly froth on the edge of the wave now for the final part of the painting of my kit ukulele that I've been putting together, and trying to create the artistic the woodblock print of Hokusai's Great Wave. That's being far too generous to my efforts, so I'm trying to create my own version of Hokusai's Great Wave, and I forgot to do it in the last video, so I added it afterwards because I wanted it to dry with the other colours. The original Hokusai's Great Wave has Mount Fuji in the background, and so I've added it there, and it's a nice little personal touch for me actually as well, because I did once a long time ago climb to the top of Mount Fuji. I have actually hiked up Mount Fuji at night, no less, and it was perishing cold, and actually we were walking past icicles on the way back down the next morning. It was so cold, but I've done a night hike up to the top of Mount Fuji, and I'm going to add a little bit of white on the top of Mount Fuji as well, because it normally is shown with snow, because it snows there from about October to about February, March, I think. I get a lot of snow at the top of Mount Fuji. So we're going to be adding the white tip to the mountain, and we're going to try and somehow turn this, from a distance, actually, when I look at it up in the camera there, from a distance I don't think it looks too bad, but close up it looks really bad. So what we're going to try and do is some white frothing of the waves. I'm not quite sure how that's going to go. I'm going to practice on the neck actually, because that will all be covered by the fingerboard there. So I've got this space just down the middle of the neck that will be completely covered. So I'm going to practice a little bit of frothing there. I've got my white paint. I'm going to be quite generous with the whites. I think the key to this is we're going to need quite a raw acrylic. I don't want it diluted. I don't want it mixed. So I'm going to go back to my big brush. This might be a huge mistake, which is why I'm going to practice it first. Touch of water, but I want it quite dry actually. The idea is it's going to be a dabbing effect. In a way, I probably want a dry brush. I've just wetted it. Probably want a really dry brush for this. I'm going to try. Yeah, it'd be so helpful if I knew what I was doing. I'm going to try it on a sort of. That is the sort of thing I'm gonna go for. So I'm going to risk damaging the brush slightly, but probably should have dried. I don't know. Let's see what happens. It's going to clump, isn't it? Let's see if it clumps or if it works. So we'll try it first on here, and what we're hoping for is a sort of, yep, that's that first one was way too heavy. Actually, those at the bottom are pretty much what I had in mind. So it's nice to see that I'm not completely clueless when it comes to this. So I'm going to do the mountain at the end, and I'll do the mountain with a much thinner brush. Oh my gosh, I feel I'm about to really commit to this. Bit more paint, but not too much, because I don't want to replicate that first splodge. Now I've got to be careful. I'm just going to actually I've got my laptop off screen here, so excuse me. I'm actually going to put Hokusai's Great Wave in the background there to try and give me some inspiration in my moment of desperation. Here we go. And I'm going to put that really clearly on the camera so you can see every live splash of white. Oh, this could go very wrong. Right, so I want it to go over the top, and then this inner curve here, I'm not going to have the white on, but the white's going to go all the way over the top, and it's going to come down. I'm going to start somewhere where it's going to be, I'm going to start there. Oh gosh, my gosh, what have I done? I think I've done what I needed to do, covered much of what I did earlier. Okay, so straight away it's going a bit crazy. I'm just taking a big breath here and sort of, whew. Yeah, this is dramatic to say the least. I'm not sure this is a good idea. I'm not sure this was ever a good idea, but this is pretty much the effect I had in mind early on. I'm very tempted to just stop, because actually I don't think that's as bad as it could be. Just conscious of the fact this green line here is still quite visible. And the idea of the white is to cover the rather linear lines that I'd created before. So I want the colours to be visible, but I don't want the sort of striped effect that I'd really badly created to be visible. So the idea is the white hides the bad bits and brings out the good bits. Whew. It's not as bad as I thought it could be. I'm going to quit while I'm ahead because I'm actually very, very pleased with that. By, bearing in mind, by my standards, I'm actually very happy with that. So I think that's worthy of it's almost worthy of Blue Peter. That it's it's like, here's one I did earlier, like live. You know what? When you're doing art live on the camera, it's very stressful. Right, so I just need to salvage this. I think I'll just I'm not quite sure what to do with that. That was a useful experiment. I think I'll just wipe that off carefully. That'll be fine. I'll leave that to dry because that won't show at all. But it does look rather bad, doesn't it? I'm not happy. I'm going to cover that. You're thinking, what is he doing now? And I'm just not happy with having that splodge of white there. I'm sort of just trying to give it a wash. What I'm going to risk doing is going over the edge. If I want to do that, I really ought to mask it, but it's hard to mask it the edge because it's curved there. That's fine. That's just, I don't like mess, and that's not quite as messy as that white splodge was. So we're going to go with that. So yeah, I'm actually quite delighted with that. And so what we're going to do now is get my thin brush again, the really thin one, and we're just going to do the top of Mount Fuji. Gosh, I don't know how many years. It was a long time ago I climbed up there. 2008. 2008 I hiked up Mount Fuji. October. No, that's wrong. 2006. October 2006 I hiked up Mount Fuji. Right, I think we are ready to add a bit of white to the top. This has got to be really delicate. Can you see what I'm doing there? Might be better if you couldn't. Right. Doesn't have to go all the way down. The thing is, it does want to just sort of blend into the brown, so snow would sort of be melted off. So it wants to be quite heavy on the top and then just sort of blend in. It doesn't need to be heavy white all the way down. Bit of a snowstorm there halfway up. Whoops. I'm nearly happy with that. Probably should stop. I've got a hair. Where did that come from? That's annoying. Can I get that off? That is annoying. There's suddenly a hair on it. How did that? I think that's off now. That's annoying. That's slightly ruined it. Right on the last brush, I got a hair. It was so amazing before then. That's as good as it was before. Just a bit more white on the top. There we go. And there's Mount Fuji. There we go. Doesn't look too bad, does it? All things considered. Why is he adding more? Stop adding more. It's fine. I'm going to stop there because that is okay. There we go. Mount Fuji and Hokusai's Great Wave. And I think what I'll do now as well, I'm going to risk taking off the... I'm just going to wash my hands. And then I'm going to take off the main part of the masking tape. So I've just washed my hands and I'm just going to take off the masking tape, and then I'll be all ready for varnishing. And I'm going to risk a thin layer of varnish later on, just because I am mindful of the fact that as you hold a ukulele, if you're not careful, you're going to end up with a bit of perspiration on your fingers, and that could have an effect on the paint. So I think it does need some, oh dear, does need some varnish. This tape isn't coming off brilliantly. Could be a problem. There we go. Right, I need to be very, very careful here. So it's like unwrapping a Christmas present, this. Hopefully the overall effect will be not too bad. I can't quite see where the bits of tape are. Where do I go next? Let's try this one. There's the thin blue line. Interesting sort of edging there of the wave. Quite effective, quite relatively neat. It's not a disaster. You can see the blue line around the bottom. And there we have it. Hold it up to the camera. So there's the front and the side and the bottom, and then it's all plain blue on the back. There we go. Hokusai's Great Wave with Mount Fuji in the background. I'm actually really pleased with that. I'm looking forward to seeing it varnished. I think because the white's quite thick on at the end, so I think it's obviously going to need to have some time to dry. And I think the varnish will just help flatten the whole thing. Otherwise, it's going to have a bit of it's not going to be entirely smooth on the surface. And I can still see the two holes I need for the bridge later on. So there we go. Hokusai's Great Wave. Thanks for watching. Today we are kit building our very own ukulele. Now we're going to try and model it on Hokusai's Great Wave. I'm no artist, but let's get into it and see what happens. Okay, here we are in the middle of my ukulele kit building series, and we've got my very basic attempt at Hokusai's Great Wave, the great Japanese woodblock printer from the early 19th century. And I did go back to this a couple of times after the end of the last video, just to add some more white wash on the waves there. I kept looking at it thinking it just needs a little bit more here and a little bit more there. So we've got quite a bit extra around the bottom. I thickened that out a little bit, a lot more foam over the top of the wave. I wanted to just change the shape a little bit of the crest of the wave there. And I've also overlapped the side on both sides, which I quite like. I wonder whether I should have done more and gone, in fact, right round the band there, but that was going to get complicated. I would have had to put the masking tape back on. So I've decided to go with it like that. I'm quite happy with it. All these things, you always think, oh, I could have done it slightly differently. But I think I've got to a point now where I definitely need to stop. So that's the body, and I'm really actually happy with that. I also added Mount Fuji in the background, because Hokusai's Great Wave does have Mount Fuji in the background. And I really like the way I've got the wave almost breaking over Mount Fuji there, which is actually what he achieves in his version as well. Now, Hokusai does have a couple of boats in his. I was never going to get that creative. I've also added a little bit of foam to the neck, to the sort of green wave I'd done on the neck, and I think that's really effective. I'm really pleased with that. So actually, given the limitations of my artistic abilities, I'm actually really pleased with that. I think that's come out really well. So today's job is to add some varnish, because I am very worried that if you just normally play, your hands can get a little bit greasy, can get a little bit clammy, just holding the instrument. So I am worried that might come off in my hands. Some of the paint might get a bit damp. So I do want to put at least one layer of varnish on it. I might do a second layer. We'll see how it goes. If I do a second layer, I'll do that off camera. I am a bit worried about the varnish and what it's going to look like. We're going to start with the neck of the ukulele and varnish that first. So as we've done with the paint, we're painting it and then varnishing it all before we try and put it together. I think that's obviously the obvious way to do it. So here we go. It does say apply with a wet brush, and so let's see how we get on with it. Cue the music. Maybe, hang on, I might just test it first. So I've got my damp brush over here, just make sure it's not too wet. Dip that in the varnish. And here we go. And straight away I get a hair. Good, that's good. Right, we'll get rid of that hair. But straight away I've got multiple hairs in there. That was a really bad first stroke, and I've got multiple hairs in the varnish. Good. Right, I just need to get rid of those. So I don't want black hairs all over it. Right, that's actually gone on really fine, apart from the hairs. Hopefully we won't have too many more hairs coming off. Cue the music, let's see what happens. Okay, I'm actually going to switch brushes because that's a bit of a disaster. That's just that I'm getting so many hairs off that brush. We're going to abandon that brush, and I'm going to go and find another paintbrush. So I'll be back in one moment.
After all, I've got copious amounts of varnish on there.
Okay, I think that'll do. Just very carefully. Have we got the body now? So I am a bit concerned about the hairs, but we will see how delicately and carefully we can do it. Certainly it's not having an effect on the colour, so that's good. It's not spoiling the colouring or the texture in any way, so that's good. My concern now is just for hairs, so I'm trying to do it in as few strokes as I can. So trying to follow the curve of the wave so it just looks natural. Doesn't look like it's been painted all over with streaks of varnish left and right. You sort of want to follow the natural curve of the painting. And I think we're done. So, there we go. Right, I'll leave that to dry. And we're good to go. Thanks for watching. Today we are kit building our very own ukulele. Now we're going to try and model it on Hokusai's Great Wave. I'm no artist, but let's get into it and see what happens. Okay, here we are, and today we are going to try and assemble the body and the neck. I just want to show you a close-up first of all of the two parts that we've got so far. The varnish is dried, and I'm actually really pleased with that. I mean, I'm no artist and there's many flaws with it, but actually by the standards I was expecting, I'm really delighted. Got a lovely, got a good wave shape there going over the sound hole in the middle. Mount Fuji there, lots of froth. The froth really makes it the difference. It was really awful before I added the froth. Froth carries on slightly over the side. Got some nice simple edging around the bottom of the ukulele, quite like that. I was thinking if I had designed this again, if I did it again, if I could get that blue line to carry on all the way around, I think that would have been really nice. That dark blue line just all the way around the whole instrument I think would be a nice touch, but I didn't really want to go back and try and fiddle with that. I thought I'd only end up spoiling it. So you can always, if you do more than one of these, you can always come up with ideas to improve it, but actually it's a sort of impromptu design that very much came together as we went. I'm really, really delighted with that. And then on the neck, some of the colouring of the neck's a little bit suspect. Some of my brushwork is really suspect, and the varnish has gone on a bit clumpy in places as well. So it's not perfect, but it's not bad. I quite like what I've done with the head there. That's a bit of a sort of impromptu wave on the neck, on the head there as well. I'm quite happy with that. Again, the white froth really made the difference there and added to that. So I'm happy with that. So what we're going to go for today is sticking it together and hopefully I'll get that in shot. Hopefully end up with a nice, almost finished looking ukulele. So what we are doing today is there's a small piece of doweling that's going to go in there and hold that together. And we'll super glue that in place as well, because it's important that's tight. We'll also put some glue on the two surfaces there to make sure that's really, that's got to be a strong joint. So there's a lot of pressure on there. And then the fingerboard will go on the front. And the fingerboard will go on the front like that. So straight away you can see it starting to look the part. Now the other thing we want to do, we've got the nut up here to go on the top there, and then the bridge and the saddle down here. And we've got those two holes that we enlarged with the bradawl earlier on in the process. So I'm going to try and do all of that now, and then later what we'll have to do is the 4 tuning pegs, but they can go on last. I want to do all that because I won't have to stick those. I'll just screw in, so I can do those later and put the strings on at the same time. I want to do all the gluing now in one go. So I've got some super glue, and I've got a hammer just in case. I'm hoping that's not necessary, just in case all goes wrong. No, of course not. Just in case I need to tap that dowel in, might just need to tap it in slightly, but I suspect I won't, because it's not come with any hammer or any suggestion that you need the hammer. But sometimes the dowel pegs can get a bit like an IKEA flat pack, isn't it? Sometimes the dowel pegs don't go in quite as smoothly as you want them to. Of course, I've got the little screwdriver from that came with the kit as well. What I like about this kit is it shows you how easy it is to make repairs to a ukulele. I mean, I've done them repairs to the school ones over the last few years, and you can buy tuning pegs. You can buy obviously the strings, all these things online quite easy, and you can buy the screws you need as well. So if you find on your ukulele a screws come out the back of the neck there, the head, and some of the tuning pegs have come loose, you can quite easily replace those, unstring your ukulele. These are not difficult jobs, and actually when you put a kit together like this, it reminds you how easy it is to put all these things together. So let's have a look at what we've got, because my one concern is the strength of the bridge. because the bridge is going to take an awful lot of pressure because the strings are going to come down the neck. Obviously at the top they're going to be screwed onto the tuning pegs, so they're going to be nice and secure there, but where you get a lot of pressure is here on the bridge. And I had a cheap ukulele once where that just came unstuck, and clearly the whole thing was just stuck down. Suddenly the whole thing wrenched up and tore off the body of the instrument, and it just been glued down. But I can see straight away there's 2 holes in the middle there that obviously go into our screw holes, so I'm hoping they're going to be decent screws. And actually, if I have a look through the pile of screws I've got here, there are 2 longer screws. So I've got 2 quite nice long screws. Can I hold them up there? There we go. So they are going to be going into there. In fact, we can do that first of all, and that's quite a decent screw length. Can you see that on the camera? I hope you can. Quite a decent screw length to hold that firmly in place. So I don't think I'm going to need to add any glue there. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is put that in place. So let's do that straight away now. Just doing it very slowly because I'm conscious of the fact normally if you're screwing into something you would want to have something supporting the piece of wood you're screwing into, so you put your hand behind it, or you'd make sure it's pushing up against something. But because of the piece, there is an extra piece of wood there I checked earlier, but I can't get my finger to it, so it's sort of just stuck inside the top there, so I can't really support it. So I'm just going very slowly so that I don't prise that, because if I'm not careful I'll prise that away from the lid as I screw in, and that would do a lot of damage. So in fact that's not going in very easily. I'm going to do the first one about halfway, then I'm going to do the second one. Make sure they're lined up properly. The paint's probably not helping. In fact, it might be an idea if I get the bradawl again, just enlarge that hole slightly. Here we go, got the trusty bradawl, very useful tool to have in your toolkit always, just for enlarging holes. Quite a lot of paint gone on there, so just making that hole a little bit broader so I can screw it in more easily. Again, I've got to be careful because I can't, ideally I'd have my hand underneath supporting the wood that I'm pushing down into. It's not entirely satisfactory doing it like that. Whoops, I'm stuck to the plastic, that's not good. Right, we just had a bit of a near disaster there because the bit of plastic I've been working on all this time, I think still got bits of varnish on it that it's not entirely dry. So I'm just going to take everything off that and go onto the tablecloth underneath, because if I'm not careful, I'm going to spoil all the work I've done. Let's try all of that again. So we've put we've done the bradawl, and we've got the screw, one screw there. And the other screw I did have until I just swept everything off. There it is. Right, we're good to go. We're going to try that again. I might well go and get my other screwdriver, because I've got some model screwdrivers for ukulele repairs in my ukulele kit, which might be a better screwdriver, but you'd have thought the screwdriver that would come with it would work. It was certainly going to be the right size, so we'll just that's just not wanting to go in. Okay, we are getting there. Arguably we're making quite hard work of this. Got my trusty model screwdrivers here. The great thing about these is they've got rotating heads on the end, so as you push down and turn, you don't have to completely turn your hand around. Let me see. Possibly the bigger one. Got these on Amazon for about £3 each. They're really, really good, worth looking up and getting some. Look, so that's really easy to keep it turning, and that's what the rotating head does. That's much easier. Unlike a normal screwdriver, where you have to keep turning your hand back to get the grip. This allows you just to rotate it easily in your hand. Now the lid is flexing I need to be careful. The lid is flexing while I do this, so again I'm going very slowly. Oh, I've stuck to the tablecloth again. The varnish has had 24 hours to dry. It's just a bit sticky. Right, just making sure that's lined up okay. Got to be careful not to crack the wood, but I've got to make sure this is really secure because a lot of pressure is going to go onto this bridge. Right, so you can see we've got the bridge on there now, and the bridge also needs the saddle. Don't think there's a top or the bottom, not the saddle. What minute that is? That's not the saddle. There's the saddle. Now then, there's a flat bottom. There we go. So that goes in there, and the string is going to come over the top of that. Let me hold it up to the camera. And then you can see there's 4 holes there, so I'll have to feed the string through there, and then there's a hole comes out the bottom. You can see there at the bottom as well. So they're going to feed through, and the knot hopefully will sit just inside that bit of plastic there. So what I'll probably do is put a knot on the end of the string, then feed the other end through from the bottom out the top, and pull it so that the knot is nice and snug inside there. And hopefully, sounds easy, doesn't it? Hopefully that will work quite easily. Right, so that's tempted just to put a touch of super glue in the middle of this, just because it is important it's held in place. It doesn't want to be loose, and that way. Right, if I suddenly, I'm going to get that bit of plastic back, because if I suddenly, right, I don't want to stick my fingers together. I am a little bit notorious with super glue. Right, why have I taken the whole cap off? So I'm just going to put it in there, just a touch. Right, that was a touch, but just a little bit more. There we go. Careful, don't want to make a mess. Oh, it's everywhere. Careful. No. Get that over here onto the plastic. That's just a little bit in the middle. You'd be so careful with super glue, don't you? And just make sure that's central. Good. We're going to leave that. Now, what we're going to do now, because I think I can work on the top without affecting that drying. We're going to put the dowel in there and super glue the 2 bits together. So we've got the dowel. Don't think the dowel's going to need any glue on it, because the dowel will just give it support inside, but actually it'll be the glue on the body here that will hold the neck in place. Like I said, I did bring the hammer. Oh no, I thought I was going to need it then. That's gone in really easily. That's fine. Job done. Right, is that going to go in as well? Yes, it is. In fact, no, you can see that's not entirely satisfactory, is it? That's pushed itself. You see, the dowel is quite essential, really, because the dowel will provide support within the neck that will really, hopefully... Yeah, that's not going to happen. No, that's just going to... It's a soft wood dowel, and that's just going to scrape it away. The problem is, the dowel is quite essential, because it should be in the middle there, and it'll provide a lot of upright support. So that is a concern, that the neck's not going to be as supported as it should be, because there's quite a decent hole there for the dowel to go into, but there's only about 3mm showing, so it's gone right down straight away, and it got pushed down as I put the neck on. Maybe I should have pushed it into the neck, but then it could have gone up into the neck and it would have been the same. So plan B, well, it's plan A, to be honest with you, it was always going to happen, is copious amounts of super glue. So I've got to be very careful at this stage. Comes out in bubbles and it sort of just goes everywhere. But this is important, because if this joint is not really strong, we are in trouble. Right, I think we are good, I hope. Okay. See at the back, there are some markings where it's supposed to line up, but actually if you line it up at the front, the markings at the back don't quite line up. So that's sort of as good as it's going to get, I think. There's a lot of super glue in there, so I'm confident that's going to stick well. Now, what I want to do, while I've got all my glues out and while I'm generally making a mess, is put the fingerboard on and possibly the nut at the top of the fingerboard as well, because that will just actually, the whole thing will just glue together then. I just hope that's going to stick. You see, look, the fingerboard's not entirely, that's having to flex slightly to stick to the top and the bottom together. It's not perfect, but I'm going to put quite a bit of glue. Oh gosh, that came pouring out. Whoops, doesn't matter. Right, there we go. It's slightly on the wave, doesn't matter, no, it's not a problem. And then plenty all the way down the neck. This one's very liquidy. But it needs to be a lot because it's got to stick to that plastic, and it will stick the plastic on well, but possibly not quite so well as the wood. And the plastic back has got an annoying and rather funny ridge effect, like the sole of a shoe. Not quite sure why. I'm not quite sure that's going to help. Right. Oh, that's really run down. Let's blow that back. Very technical, this. Blowing the glue back where I want it. Right, I've got to line it up really carefully. I'm only going to get one shot at this. Literally only getting one shot at that setting really quickly. And the problem is the glue's coming out the side, so if I'm not careful I stick my fingers on it. Oh, that's not lining up. Ow, oops, gosh. Nearly stuck my finger then. We're on. I think that's as good as it's going to get. Right, I need to hold this. Right, give me 10 minutes because I've got to hold it. It's not quite perfect. To be honest, it's not quite perfectly shaped. Again, like I said, if my friend Matthew has made this, I'm thoroughly impressed. If he has bought it, it's not the best one in the world. That glue's running. Gosh. If I blow it that way, just look like an extra layer of varnish. Whilst I'm getting myself covered in glue, I might as well put the nut on, because otherwise that's another glue job later. And I'd rather just have all the gluing now, then I can leave it for a few hours and come back and do the strings. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the top there, because the nut doesn't really have a lot of pressure on it. And that should stick down. And that will be held in place by the strings anyway. Oh, that doesn't quite. It's not quite wide enough. It should be a little bit. So I'll make sure that's central. Yeah, that's about 2 millimeters too narrow. It's a shame. So that goes there. Like I said, Matthew, if you've done the plastic work and everything with your moulds and that at work, then I'm very impressed. If you bought this, then it's great. But if you have bought it, I'm just being honest with the viewers that it's not the best quality instrument that we're going to ever have. So we're going to be realistic. And I think when you buy a kit, you've got to think about the sound quality you're going to get from it. And I'm sure there are different kits out there that possibly do match really nicely, and you can certainly consider that when you buy a kit. But if, like this one, it's just a really nice novelty present, and we've had a lot of fun painting it and putting it together, then you can certainly get a lot of value from it. I mean, this is just looking so much better than I ever imagined. I'm really pleased with it. But I am questioning the quality of the pieces as they go together. There we go. Coming together. I can't coordinate my hand with the camera. There we go. Coming together really nicely. So isn't that looking amazing? I'm really happy with that. So we've got the bridge there, and the saddle, and the fingerboard, and the nut all on. And then what I'll do in the final video is I can put the tuning keys on at the top, because I'll just screw in, and then we can string it and tune it, and then we'll see if we can get a song out of it. Okay, thanks for watching, everyone. Take care. Today we are kit building our very own ukulele. Now we're going to try and model it on Hokusai's Great Wave. I'm no artist, but let's get into it and see what happens. Okay, here we are, and we have our very nearly finished ukulele now. It's looking really nice. I'm really happy with it. The varnish is a little bit suspect on the back, but we're not going to look at that too much, and I'm really not too worried. Overall, the effect is just more than I really hoped for, more than I expected, and I'm really happy with how that's come together. The white splashing of the waves has really made all the difference. It's funny how you can cover so many mistakes with an extra layer of something with a bit of artwork. So what we're doing now is we're going to put the tuning pegs on the head there, and I've got all the tuning pegs and the screws all on the sleeves ready to go, and then we're going to try and string it, and we'll see if we can get it in tune, ready for a final sing-song, and we'll see what it sounds like. So let's have a look at what we've got. We've got these tuning pegs, which are relatively straightforward. They just slot through, and also on the back of the head we've got the pinholes where they're going to match up to, so I can actually see really easily which way round they go as well, so there's no difficulty here. I've got the bridle if I need to. I'm going to try it without the bridle to begin with, because they're only small screws and I don't want to make the holes too big. So hang on, what am I doing? So there we go, one like that. I think we'll do it one at a time, probably. Just checking this. I'm going to put them all in just to double check they're not supposed to be a particular way around. That one will go there. Yeah, this is fine. In fact, they pretty much just sit in whilst I screw, so they'll all fit in like that. Yeah, that's all fine. So just got to carefully screw them in. Each one's got 2 screw holes, so it shouldn't take too long. So I've used the small screwdriver to begin with to just delicately feed them in to begin with, but then the last few turns have got to be nice and strong to really hold it in tight. So I'm just switching to the larger screwdriver there so I don't want to mangle the screw head, which you can sometimes do with this fine screw tip. Yeah, they're relatively secure. Okay, 2 in, 2 to go, and then I think these sleeves will just fit on the top, and I don't think they need sticking on. They can just stay on. They can just stay on loose, and the strings hold them in place. So pop those 2 on there, ready. That's what it's beginning to take shape. You can see they're not perfectly in line in truth, but it's okay. That top one's nice. It's that bottom one is annoying me, actually. It's bugging me. I think if I unscrew them, I'm just going to regret it. He says, unscrewing them. Oh, that's just gone up my sleeve. There we go. I'm going to risk a second hole in the bottom. Try and keep the top hole where it is. Just pivot it slightly. Really don't want to do 2 new holes, but risk 1 new hole at the bottom. That is making it a lot straighter, actually. I have managed to salvage that quite well, he says. There'll be a crack in a minute and it'll all go wrong. That's a bit straighter, isn't it? Yes, that's looking much better. So 2 down, 2 to go. Ready to go. Yeah, that top one, I'm going to completely do a new hole at the bottom. I think I'll do the top screw first, because if I line it up with the two holes, that's the angle we get. And I don't know whether you can see that, that's really crooked. It wants to be in line with the one below, which is in line with the side of the ukulele, like that. So I'm going to have to I'll do the top hole where it is, and then I'll redo the bottom hole with the trusty bridle. Okay, there we go. Four tuning pegs, all in place, ready to go. So we pop the sleeves on. It's looking good already, isn't it? There we go. And now the final piece is final bit, the strings. Now normally when you get a set of strings, they're colour coded so you can see which one's supposed to be which. These are not colour coded, and I suspect they're all the same width, because ukulele strings will be slightly thicker or thinner depending on which string it is. The lower strings will be a thicker string normally. So I'm just going to take a moment. These are looking like 4 identical strings, so I'm not too worried about that. So what we said we were going to do, we're going to basically thread them from the bottom, from the bridge, and if you look carefully, there's a 4 holes on the bridge there at the bottom, which then feed up to the 4 holes on the top of the bridge, and we'll go through there, up and over the saddle, and then across to the nut, and then up to the tuning pegs, and hope to be able to tune it. We might need to trim the end of the strings at the end. So we'll just start with a little overhand knot. On the camera, to start with a little overhand knot there. So we end up with a little bump in the string. Can you see that? Ooh, you see that? So that's probably going to be enough, because I don't think that will pass through. What you have to make sure is that it's not going to pass through the hole there. Normally 1 overhand will do it. You can do 2, but you don't want to make it too clumpy at the bottom of your ukulele. I think 1 will be enough, because that hole's quite small. In fact, I'm going to have a problem now feeding it. Can you see that? You can't see. Can you see that? There we go. I have a problem feeding it up through the. That's not going to want to go. So the plan was to feed it up from the bottom. It doesn't actually want to feed either way. This could take a bit of doing. Having to bend the end of the string, which isn't a problem, because the end of the string is going to probably be cut off anyway. I'm really having to hook that round. We're not a million miles away. Aha, here we go. Right, that is really fiddly. That is really fiddly. Very hard to do. Actually, that's probably the hardest bit. But you just had to really twist the end and almost make it like a little fish hook on the end of the string, and then feed it in. And that's nicely wedged in there, so that's fine. I'll be able to trim the bottom as well later. So that's the first one. We go up to the neck and then through the first hole. Now, some people, when they tune a ukulele, will not actually tie it at the top, and they'll just rely on the tension of the string to hold it in place. Personally, I always like to do 1 overhand knot again, just to hold it in place. I don't think that's a terrible thing. And then we start tightening it. There we go. Okay, that's the first string. It's all looking relatively secure. The profile there of the string seems to be very raised up. So I think the bridge is a bit high potentially. It's quite a gap there. I think my other ukuleles generally have a much narrower gap, and you can see that should be relatively flat there. That gap there should be relatively consistent. It's really angled down towards the top there. It's not perfect, but we'll get the other strings on in place, and I think it'll be okay. I think it'll do the job. Oh, that's the first string. 1 down, 3 to go. There we go, got our top 2 strings. Rather untuned at the moment, but I'll get all 4 strings in and then I can tune them up together. Okay, here we are. There has been a bit of a development. I was doing quite well with the with the strings. I'd actually got all 4 on, and I'd restrung them at the top so they were actually turning the right way, because you want to try and get them so they're not overlapping each other when they go to the top. So you've got to try and wind them all the same way. Unfortunately, what I worried about has happened, and the whole thing has snapped at the neck. And the problem is that dowel piece that we talked about earlier, it's sunk quite far in, really wasn't big enough to do the job. So what I'm very carefully going to do now is just loosen the strings, and we questioned whether or not we would be able to play this. And in fairness, I don't really need to, need to be able to play it. I'm being really careful while I loosen this, because what I'm hoping to do is stick it back together and keep it as a presentation piece, because I'm actually really pleased with how the art has turned out, but I don't think it's going to be salvageable as a playing piece. I could put some more glue on and maybe put a bigger dowel in, but it's clearly not a very strong join. Hang on. So what I'm going to do is just loosen the strings, and then so there won't be the pressure on the neck. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim the strings so that it looks just like a really nice presentation piece, and I can keep it on a shelf, and it'll be a lovely art present. So it's probably more of an art gift than a music gift in the first place, and I can certainly enjoy it as that, but without being able to play it. So I've got quite a mess here with the strings. So there we go, it's back in one piece. There's a little bit of paint unfortunately lost there in the middle. So I now need to put some more super glue on there, and then I'm just going to trim the end of the strings and try and tighten them just a little bit, but without the pressure on the super glue, and then I think we'll be done. So I'll cut to that and show you the finished art piece, and we're not going to be musically testing it, but we're going to be enjoying it as a finished art installation that can be added to my musical shelf. Okay, here we are. Here is the finished piece. Now, it would be possible if I really wanted to go to quite a bit more trouble to redesign the connection there between the neck and the body, and I could probably drill a hole and get a screw in there, or maybe put a bigger dowel in there and really get a lot more of a joint in place there. As it is, it's quite frail. I've re-glued it. It's drying at the moment, and I'm not really wanting to put any tension on that, so I've restrung it. And I've trimmed the strings at both ends, so it's looking nice and neat, and it's looking like the real thing. You can see the strings are very loose there. I'm not going to tighten them because I don't want to risk putting that pressure on the neck again. But as a presentation piece, I'm really delighted with that. I'm really happy with that. So that's just going to be a nice art piece, and I'm sure I'll try and incorporate that artwork into my channel at some point. So I'm just going to take the camera off the stand, and I'm just going to give you a close-up of the whole thing before we finish. So I hope you've enjoyed my little mini series of constructing a ukulele kit, and I think we can learn from that actually they're a lot of fun. You can learn a lot about how to put the strings on and how to do the tuning pegs, and you can have a lot of fun painting it and creating different designs. Be mindful when you buy a kit of the join, and also the bridge. Have a look at the bridge and how the strings are going to feed through and how the bridge is going to attach to the ukulele. Have a look at the join there as well. Those are the bits that when you buy a kit you want to be thinking about. How are they going to be substantial? Are they going to be strong enough? But they're a lot of fun, so I'd certainly recommend grabbing one and having some fun and seeing what designs you can come up with, and I'm sure you can do a better job than I've done now. And yeah, so I hope you enjoyed that mini series. Thank you very much for watching.